Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Natalia Moczulska, and this is the news. On September 1st, 1939, the German army, without a declaration of war, crossed the borders of Poland at dawn. Thus began World War II, the bloodiest conflict of the 20th century. To date, Germany has not paid for the war damage it caused. Poland estimated them at over 6 trillion zloty. At 4:45 a.m., the alarm sirens at Westerplatte rang out, commemorating the start of the German battleship Schleswig-Holstein's attack on the military transit depot. Polish President Andrzej Duda and National Defense Minister Mariusz Błaszczak spoke at the ceremony. An appeal of remembrance was read. The defenders of the peninsula were commemorated by 12 cannon salvos. Nothing can bring back the lives of those who died at the front, but we owe it to our homeland to remember them, to honor the heroes, which builds attitudes that it is always worth it and that there is nothing more valuable than our own independent, sovereign homeland in which we decide for ourselves. Both the President and the Minister of Defense reminded that the guarantor of security is a strong army that can effectively defend the homeland in the event of armed aggression. This is the best, most effective response, precisely deterrence, a response to all these threats we face today. In turn, Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki took part in the celebrations in Wieluń. He recalled that the goal of the German Third Reich was the destruction of the Polish state. He highlighted that complete reconciliation between Poland and Germany will not be possible without adequate reparations. They must close this black chapter of the hecatomb of World War II, that moment when the German people wanted to annihilate the Polish people, children, women, men. Polish Minister of Culture and National Heritage Piotr Gliński called on Germany to pay reparations owed to Poland. Speaking against the backdrop of the ruins of the Saxon Palace, he recalled that the Germans destroyed 90% of the buildings on the left bank of Warsaw. The massive bombardments were Hitler's revenge for the Warsaw Uprising. In the slaughter of Wola alone, according to various estimates, between 40,000 and 60,000 civilians, women, pregnant women, elderly people, priests, children were murdered. The slaughter of Wola neighborhood is sometimes considered the largest single massacre of civilians in Europe. 6 million Polish citizens were killed during the war. We have suffered enormous material losses, spiritual losses, in the area of culture as well, all of which have been calculated in recent years and presented equally a year ago in a report on the war losses suffered by Poland during the German occupation of 1939 to 1945. Their value was calculated at more than 6,220 billion zloty. Despite Germany's objections, Poland has the right to demand the never-received reparations. A precedent is the example of Greece, which, despite having received reparations in the late 1950s, is making further claims against the German government. The Sejm of the Republic of Poland declares that the Polish state, duly represented, has never waived its claims against the German state. The declaration that these claims have been validly withdrawn or are time-barred has neither moral nor legal basis. The injustice of millions of Poles will cry out until it is justly rectified. With regard to people, the atrocities of the German occupation involved various forms of enslavement, forced labor, robbing children, maiming, raping, murdering, and annihilating children, women, and men, citizens of the Republic of Poland, as well as obliterating the traces of genocide and war crimes. At 6 p.m. local time, a demonstration began in front of the German embassy in Warsaw, organized by the Capital Club of Gazeta Polska and the Rota Association of the March of Independence. Demonstrators want to remind people of the tragic consequences of the Third Reich's attack on Poland, and at the same time oppose the lying historical narrative created by the Federal Republic of Germany.
Po pierwsze, dlatego, że musimy pamiętać o historii, bo historia nauczycielką dziejów.
Firstly, because we must remember history. Secondly, because we must honor those who fought for a free Poland. Thirdly, we must recall the crimes. And fourthly, we must demand justice from the Germans. After 80 years, Germans have not fulfilled it yet. This justice is a historical task for our generation. 200,000 kidnapped children. There has been no such kidnapping in the history of the world. On September 1st, we want to remind the Germans that they are responsible for September, for this wave of unbelievable in the history of mankind crimes, and that it is not enough to just apologize to us, but to make amends in the form of reparations. In 2010, Germany paid Great Britain and France the last installment of reparations for World War I. 2 years ago, the government in Berlin decided that it would pay appropriate reparations to Namibia for the genocide committed by the German Empire in the early 20th century. World War II began with the invasion of Poland by Nazi Germany. 61 countries participated in it. Poles fought on all fronts of the conflict. The conflict, which lasted 6 years, resulted in the deaths of more than 60 million people, including more than 6 million Poles. September 1st, 4:30 a.m. German bombs fall on Wieluń's All Saints Hospital. 4:45 a.m. German battleship Schleswig-Holstein attacks Westerplatte. This is how Nazi Germany began World War II. Thus war. As of today, all matters and issues are going down the drain. All our life, public and private, is switched to a special track. We have entered a period of war. The entire effort of the nation must go in one direction. We are all soldiers. We must think of only one thing: fighting until victory. Commander-in-Chief Marshal Edward Śmigły-Rydz plans to defend himself on the line of Vistula, Narew, and San rivers. In the course of the war, a decision was made to evacuate troops through the Romanian Forebridge. We didn't start developing a plan for war with Germany until the spring of 1939, and the Polish staffers themselves stressed in their memoirs that it wasn't ready at all, so it was kind of improvisation.
Więc to była swojego rodzaju improwizacja.
The only offensive of the Polish army during the defensive war was the Battle of the Bzura. General Tadeusz Kutrzeba tried to prevent the Germans from pursuing the armies of Prussia, Lublin, Kraków, and Carpathians.
Bitwa nad Bzurą jest największym.
The Battle of the Bzura is the largest offensive maneuver. In fact, it's the largest battle of this phase of World War II until the start of the Soviet-German conflict in 1941. So here indeed comes the surprise. Kutrzeba intellectually grasped everything, while he did not have the strength of character to impose here, so to speak, any attempt to cooperate with General Bortnowski.
Jakąś próbę współpracy generałowi Bortnowskiemu.
Poland was in alliance with France and Great Britain. Our Western partners declared war on Germany on September 3rd, but limited themselves to spreading anti-war leaflets over German cities. These events have gone down in history as the Strange War. France had no offensive plan. It had only a defensive plan in case of war with Germany. And Great Britain is located far enough away that it could not help Poland in any way. Great Britain had 2 divisions under arms, a ridiculous number. On September 17th, from the east under the Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact, the Soviets attacked us. This ultimately squandered Polish chances. On September 22nd, a joint parade of the Wehrmacht and the Red Army took place in Brest. The 2 murderers, Hitler and Stalin, once again erased Poland from the maps of Europe.
Nic nie zmieni historii.
Nothing will change history. Nothing will change the historical truth. Nothing will change, fortunately, those documents that are still there. Photos of German, Nazi, and Russian Soviet soldiers hugging and smiling at each other. A red star hand in hand with the swastika, wanted to rule over Europe and over the nations. After the fall of the Second Republic of Poland, some soldiers of the Polish army made their way to France, where they took up arms against the Germans there. Then, through Dunkirk, they made their way to Great Britain, where a government in exile was formed. Polish aviators took part in the legendary Battle of Britain, and sailors guarded the royal ports. We must remember that practically until June 1941, the Third Reich faced a stranded Britain, and this stranded Britain had only one ally. It was the Poles. More than 5 million Polish citizens died during World War II. Some 2.5 million Poles were forced to work in the Third Reich. Warsaw was razed to rubble. Many people who woke up to war on September 1st, on May 8, 1945, had nowhere to return to and did not have an address either. The war in Europe lasted until May 8, 1945, when the Allies captured Berlin. In Poland, however, the German occupation was replaced by Soviet occupation, whose governors were apparatchiks of the Polish United Workers' Party. On June 8, 1946, Poles were missing from the victory parade in London, although it was the Polish army that fought for our freedom and yours on every front of World War II. Polish Defense Minister Mariusz Błaszczak met with Korean Defense Minister Lee Yong-sup in Warsaw. Poland is preparing a second phase of Polish-Korean defense cooperation. This cooperation involves the production of equipment in Poland. South Korea aims to become a significant partner for Poland and signed a $13.7 billion arms deal with Warsaw last year, Seoul's largest ever such deal. We cooperate with the United States and South Korea, and the effects of this cooperation are tangible. Millions of people could admire the Great Military Parade in Warsaw on August 15th. During this parade, modern equipment made in Korea was presented. I'm thinking about K-2 tanks, K-9 howitzers, and Fa-50 planes. We are preparing the second phase of our cooperation, which involves the production of this equipment in Poland. Our nations are ambitious and hardworking people. I am convinced that together we will achieve success. In addition to the various cooperative projects currently underway, we have decided to expand such defense and defense cooperation where more weapon systems can cooperate with each other in the future. The agreement with Poland, a key NATO member, encompasses hundreds of Chunmoo rocket launchers, K-2 tanks, K-9 self-propelled howitzers, and Fa-50 fighter aircraft. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Please stay tuned for Poland Daily Weather, Poland Daily Business, and some of our other programs. But for me, it's have a wonderful evening.